this is the last question. So I do get this question on occasion, often enough to ask you this question.
Okay.
But why does the boss get to take days off to go traveling or go away, or take days off to be home, or sometimes the first kind of person out of the office and people still have to like clean up rooms and do notes and that type of thing?
Okay. I'm trying not to laugh.
So was I.
So there has to be some benefit to owning a business. I mean, obviously, so this person again, so I would just take, I'm going to be serious and answer this question, okay? Because I would instinctually write it off, but someone asked it. And if someone asked it enough that you made the list, that means more than one person asked it, which scares me a little bit. So again, it's interesting to me, more fascinating than anything, because this tells you the mindset of employees today, right? It's kind of scary. That they don't understand at all what it's like to run a business versus to work in a business, right? And they think that this comes back to all the questions we've answered so far about retention and leadership and so on. So now I'll mention this because I don't like using myself as an example, because I know I push the limits on things, but it's worth mentioning. When I need my team to push harder, I push harder. Personally. Like, if I need people to stay late, I stay late. Not always, but I have to be willing to lead by example to a degree. Now, having said that, I need also to have everyone to understand the reasons why I do what I do, the reasons why I might duck out at a certain time during the day, or I might take a certain days off or whatever. And see, this all comes back to leadership and communication. If I don't spend any time with my team, I'll take you back to the all-team meetings I talked about in a previous segment, where the first 45 minutes was the same meeting every meeting, just repackaged. What I was talking about there was, here's the things that we have been working on, that I have been doing on the days that I have been working on the business, not in the business, that I have been doing in my evenings and weekends and putting these things together and creating these things. And they constantly see me showing up with new stuff, new ideas, took this course, took that course. Like, people will want to lead by your example. People want to follow your example as a leader. If you don't give them an example to follow, then they're going to follow whatever they follow. Mm-hmm. Now, it's sad that that is the situation for some employees. And I'm going to tell you right now, as much as I'm trying to resist these kind of employees being in offices if we can, you're going to get caught with one or two of them. But you really want to, again, I take you back to the hiring process just very briefly. If I can choose between two people with equal assessment scores, and one of them has a family history of running a business or something, or some understanding, some clue that they did something with their lives, I would pick that person because they have the mindset, right? So this might be a very interesting one-on-one conversation with this person to have, to say, like, why shouldn't I be able to do that? Like, but they're not going to get it. So you're trying to do psychology with a person now. You're not going to. This isn't a psychology session. This isn't, this is an employment issue more than anything. So what do you do with this person? I mean, I don't know. It depends on what role they have or how, critical an employee they are. But if they're like actually resenting that the doctor is taking time out of the office, it's interesting. I find it interesting. I don't think that's a long-term fit, by the way. But I could be wrong. Having said that, I will still go back to my initial. You have to give people an example to follow. Your kids, your employees, anybody. If you tell them to do one thing and you always do something else, and you do that consistently, then how will they follow you? Right. In our office, I made sure I was always the hardest working person during the day when I was there, for the time I was there. So no one could ever say, well, that's my example. No, your example is what you should do, but you don't, right? So they can always make that connection themselves. It's critical to do that. This is a unique situation, I'll be honest. But that's where my head would go if I had that come up. And like, you know, I don't think I would like instinctually just try to replace this person because they're a little bit spun in their mindset. I'd be more concerned that is a more pervasive mindset at large right now. And unfortunately, as we continue to go in this direction in our society and as a culture, this is a bigger problem than just this one question. This is going to come up more and more. You know, the desire to have an entrepreneurial mindset in the first place is, I think, entrepreneurial mindsets are to some degree becoming an endangered species among the young, which is kind of scary. So, you know, we'll see where that goes, and I certainly can't tackle that give you an answer to that in this question, but I would go back to leadership, and I would go back to, you know, my example to those in the office, and just try to reach them that way. Again, it's that saying that I can't hear what you're saying, your actions are speaking too loud, you know, something to that effect. I forget the exact wording, but that's what it means, right? Like what you do trumps anything you can say. And that's with employees, with kids, with any situation where you are in a leadership position. And every single person, regardless of what their position is on the team, is in a leadership position. Because someone else is watching you. Even if they're your equal, even if you both have the exact same role, the exact same pay, they're still watching you and you're watching them, right? So I would just use that as an opportunity to make sure that I'm checking, how am I coming off? If this, you know, poor young employee doesn't understand what it means to run a business, then I haven't actually showed them it either. You know, like they have no idea. So is it worth me explaining it to them? Like, is it worth me explaining to the whole team? Like, just so you know, here's what it takes. Like, you see me treat patients for 8 hours a day, but then there's all this other stuff that gets done. And so on and so on and so on, right? Some people will get it, some people won't. But, you know, again, it's just an interesting, if this were my problem, I would call this an interesting experiment, and I would probably take a team meeting to really dive into that a bit, you know, and just see what I got out of it. Probably you're not going to change that person, but you might positively affect other people on your team, so it's worth the exercise.
Right.
That's how I would think about it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, that wraps up our questions.
That's everything.
Well, I thank you again, Christine, for joining me.
My pleasure.
All right, and so for all you guys out there, we will look forward to hearing your questions for an upcoming Q&A that we can answer for you. Otherwise, stay tuned until next time. We'll see you soon.
Excellent. Thank you.